जय गणनायक जय, विघ्न विनायक जय, जय गणनायक जय, विघ्न विनायक जय, जय गणनायक जय, विघ्न विनायक जय। यही सुमिरत सिद्धि हो, गणनायक कटिवर करो मनो हसो विनाश सुख दुख जय गणनायक जय, विनायक जय, जय गणनायक जय, जय गणनायक ओ कहोई बाजा जय गणनायक जय, विनायक जय, जय गणनायक जय। नील सरोवर रामचंद्र भगवान की जय। So I go straight into the Katha this evening.
Yeah.
There is a scenario where we are told that all the gods were defeated by Ravan and his followers, and they had taken over the heavens and so on. And all the Devgans, the gods, they had gone into hiding because of Ravan. He was such a powerful person. But one has to understand what is Ravan. In every day of our life, there are two forces operating within us. We have the Ravan principle operating, and we have the Rama principle. Or we can say that we have the saintly principle and the demonic principle. Or we can say that we have the positives and the negatives, whichever way we want to put it. And what are the positive, or what are the Rama principles? These are truth, sincerity, purity, love, bhakti, compassion, empathy, sympathy, these type of qualities. And then you have the Ravan principle of hate and greed, lust, anger, hatred, jealousy, and those things. And when these negativities are so overpowering and so overwhelming within us, it captures our mind, our thinking, and because of that, we are unable to do the correct things. If we allow our minds to be captured by hate and greed and lust and anger, what kind of person would we become? What kind of life would we live? If on the other hand, we allow things like truth, sincerity, purity of thought, compassion, all these good characteristics, when these operating within our mind, then we are a completely different kind of person. So when we say the gods were conquered, it is because there was a time. The gods refer to all the good qualities that I just mentioned. When these are overpowered by the negativities, then what happens? We become less than human beings. Tulsidas captures this in a very real way when he refers to the gods and to Ravan. And that is the brilliance of St. Tulsidas. So he gives us a synopsis of what took place during that time. He is saying that during that time, everybody went contrary because Ravan was in control. Nobody could sing the praise of the Lord. Nobody could read the Vedic principles or read the Vedas and the Puranas and so on. If you were found doing that, then you were held captive and so many things could have happened. So imagine a situation like that where goodness is on the decline. And whenever you are found doing good, you are in great deal of trouble. So what kind of thing will take place during those? Imagine a scenario where over here you're not allowed to pray, you're not allowed to do good things, you're not allowed to serve the needy, you're not allowed to pray. What will become of character? Take a home, for example. If in the home, the father says, well, look, no praying here. You could go and thief, you could go and steal, you can do whatever you want. Do all the wickedness. And that is what Ravan allowed to happen. So what would happen in a society when there is that type of thing operating? So Tulsidas is telling us, he says, virtuous acts were to be found nowhere. All goodness. He says, no respect was paid to the gods, the Brahmins, the Gurus. There was no devotion to our beloved Sri Ram. He says, no sacrificial performances were made. So think of, it says, no one would ever dream of listening to the Vedas and the Puranas. Just to listen, you can't. So what kind of society will that be? Tulsidas says, if ever there was any talk of jap is muttering of the sacred names and so on, or yoga, the subjugation of the mind, certain disciplines by which we operate. He says, penance, sacrifice, he says these things could not be done. He says, so rampant was corruption in the world that there was no talk of piety. And actually we are coming to that in the world today. Nobody is thinking, think of the wars, think of all the negativities, think of the poverty. There is enough wealth to till the land, to feed the world, but everybody is thinking of going to other planets, thinking of doing other things. They want to have all kinds of weapons, causing billions and millions. And you have people poor, not getting food. So this is the kind of thing that operated during that time when Ravan was in control. He says, whoever recited the Vedas and the Puranas were intimidated in many ways and sent into exile. So Mother Earth is experiencing this kind of situation. What does she do? What is her response? And against this backdrop, I begin tonight's katha. Tulsidas sings in Duha. साजल जो करही चाहे बनी जिनके पापरी कवच राम जय जय राम राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम बरन न जाय नीति घोर निशाचर जो करही. Tulsidas is telling his sadhus, he is relating this katha to his fellow sadhus. He says, oh sadhus, he says, words cannot describe the enormity of the terrible outrages caused by the demon. And he says, Ghor Nisacha Jo Karahi. The outrages is of the demons. You cannot talk about it. There was so much. They are operating so much against the goodness of the people. And he says, Hinsa par atipriti dinake papa vikavanamiti. It says, those who hold wickedness near dear to the heart, it says there is no limit to which they will go to cause harm. Think of what is happening right here in our country. The people who invade your homes, there is no limit to their outrages. There is no limit to the extent to which they will go to terrorize your family and to take all that you have worked and earned by your sweat. That is the kind of thing that's operated. We still have kathas and so on going on, yajnas and so on. But think about the times of Ravan, when he said there must be absolutely nothing of no practice like this, religious practices. How much more would this type of situation operate in that scenario? So Tulsidas sings in Chaupai. Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai बाधे कल बहु गोर द्वारा jail ampat paradan paradara. Because of that scenario, Tulsidas said in his sadhus, he says, my fellow sadhus, because of that situation, it gave rise to a number of evildoers. You see, it becomes fertile ground now for people to do whatever they want. And they do it without fear. Isn't that operating in today's world? We are all experiencing that. He says, thieves and gamblers, they grew in leaps and bounds. He says, Jail ampat paradan paradara. He says, people went and simply took over people's wealth and wives and children. That is happening all now. He says, things went in proportions that is unheard of. That kind of evils. Mana himatu pitana hideva. Mana himatu pitana hideva. Imagine, people had no respect for mother and father. And when you have no respect for mother and father, you have reached the lowest ebb, my friends. Because mothers and fathers are the gods on earth. They are our gods. If we can't respect them whom we see, how can you say I'm respecting the Lord whom you don't see? You can't expect to ill-treat your parents and say I'm going to worship God. That can't happen. That don't happen. The Christ said, honor thy mother and thy father, so that the days which the Lord thy God hath given thee upon this land shall be long and everlasting. So mother and father hold a very special place in the life of a child. In Hinduism, we revere them as gods. Sadhu nasan karava seva. In addition to not recognizing and worshipping their parents, Tulsidas says, they compel the good to serve, like the sadhus. They made them work as laborers. These are the people who live noble and honorable lives and who they help to remove the darkness of ignorance by teaching and preaching. The noble teachers, they were held to ransom and they were made to do the laborious work as everybody else. So they had no respect for anybody at all. So think of that situation. Isn't it happening today? So Ramayana is a literature of yesterday, today and tomorrow. Time past, present and future. Whatever we can think about is in here. Tulsidas sings in Chopin. Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Jai Jai अतिशय देखिया कैलानी परम सभी जरा अकुला जय राम तेरा जय राम तेरा जय राम जय जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम। जिनके यहाँ आचरण भवानी ते जानहु निश्चर सब प्राणी. So Lord Shankara is narrating this katha also to Mother Parvati. Bhavani was the Mother Parvati. He's saying, O Bhavani, those people who act like this, who perform this type of action, he says they are considered to be demons. They are like Ravan. So another person with 10 heads, we consider Ravan. Those 10 heads are representative of different types of qualities, like hate and greed and lust and anger, jealousy. Those are what the heads represent. All of us have those heads. In all of us, there are these negativities and also the positivities. It depends on what we cultivate. Whatever we cultivate, that is what we become. A man is his mind. Whatever is within the mind, that is what makes the man. If pure thoughts operate within the mind, then you behave like that. If all the negative thoughts occupy the mind, that is what we become. A man don't just get up today and say, well, okay, he's going to do X, Y, and Z, kill this person, rob this man, and whatever. He has been thinking of that all the time. And having thought about it for so many days and months perhaps, it now becomes part and parcel of his normal thinking. So when he does it, he does that without any kind of regret. So you see, in the first shop I said, those who hold this weakness near and dear to their heart, it says, there is no limit to their evil doings. So what we think, that is what we become. Atisaya deki dharma kaiglani parama sabit para akulani. Mother Earth is experiencing this. We are all her children. Mother Earth is not just something physical. There is an energy operating within Mother Earth, which we call Prithvi Ma. That energy is what sustains the earth and gives it the power. When we put a seed, it germinates. All our needs and wants come from Mother Earth. But people are completely disrespecting Mother Earth now. When you invite a Pandit and he comes to do your puja, he puts the Bedi there. Isn't that so? That Bedi is representative of Mother Earth. So as Hindus, we pay reverence to all the Lord's creation, because the Lord is in and through all His creation. If He is in there, that is what we pay obeisance to. So Mother Earth is experiencing this. Whatever we do, Mother Earth feels the effects. And Tulsidas is saying here, when Mother Earth saw this exceeding disregard that people have towards religion, she was horrified and became so distressed. What does she do? You know, this lesson is so extensive when you take it in its fullest capacity. Think in terms of the kind of floods we are having, the tsunamis, the earthquakes, the hurricanes. This one that spins up, how you call it? All, yes, the tornadoes. And all is happening, and it's happened so frequently. Mother Earth is rebelling. Mother Earth is rebelling. Because we have lost all respect for her. Mother Earth is a living entity. The ocean is a living entity. The wind is a living entity. And we pay respects to all that. We have the wind god. We have the god of the ocean. And every other facet of nature. And we pay respects to all of them. And we are suffering what we have planted. Look at the kind of heat we get in. The polar caps are all melting now. So there is so much. And yet still man has not awakened. Tulsidas sings in Chaupai. Jai Rama Shri Rama, Jai Jai Rama, Shri Rama Jai Rama, Jai Jai Rama, Jai Rama Shri Rama, Jai Jai Rama, Shri Rama Jai Rama, Jai Jai Giri Sari Sari Kumar Dai Koi Jasa Mohi Garava Eka Paroi Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Rama Sakala Jat Dekha Visparita Jira Sakaira Vanamaya Pita Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Jai Rama गिरि सर सिंधु भार नहीं मोही जस मोहि करुण एक पर दोही. Mother Earth is speaking out. Mother Earth is saying, Giri Sari Sindhu Bhara Nahi Mohi. It says, I can bear the burden of the mountains. The weight of the mountains is not too much for me to bear. I can bear the burdens of the rivers and the oceans. It says, this is not so precious to me as this one, Jasa Mohi Gadra Eka Padatu. Just this one oppressor who is wicked to others. That's what I cannot bear. Now, if a mother has 10 children, she will work very hard to ensure that each of them gets what is required, what is needed. But if one of these children were to go astray, the impact of that on the mother is more than the 9 others put together. That's what Mother Earth is saying. I can bear the weight of all these mountains and rivers and oceans. But this one oppressor, it is too much. Ravan. But as I said, Ravan represents all evils. Some of us are even worse than Ravan, myself included. I'm not here to throw stone on anybody. In everybody, there is good and there is bad. If we allow the good to flourish, then we become good citizens. Everybody wants to be with us. When we allow the bad to flourish, then what happens? Nobody wants to be around us because we are engaged in activities that is not, helpful to our neighbors, to our families, to our friends, the relatives. Sakala dharma dekhai viparita. Sakala dharma means all forms of dharma, of goodness, have been thrown to the wind. So he's saying here, Sakala dharma dekhai viparita kahi na sakai ravana bhayapita. He says, she saw all faith perverted. Everything gone through the window. And yet, for the fear of Ravana Bhayapita, Bhaya is fear. Because of fear of Ravan, I could say nothing. Now sometimes, you see, we have to put it in our own perspective. We are so frightened of certain situations here that we can't speak. They tell you report this one and report that one and report the other. And when you report this one and that one, you go out of extinction completely. You are completely extinguished. So Mother Earth is experiencing this. And he says, because of the fear of Ravan, I could not speak. So what is the alternative? What should we do? If we are faced with a situation like this, what is the best thing to do? So there is always a solution. There's always something that we can do. We cannot just throw in the towel. If everybody throws in the towel, then nothing could change. So what does Mother Earth do? Tulsidas tells us. Jai Rama Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rupadari Hridaya Vichari. Vichar is to think and to think deeply. Dhenu Roop means the form of the cow. So Tulsidas says, after great deliberation, after a great deal of thought within her mind, she took the form of a cow. And Gayitaha Jaha Sura Muni Jari. All the Sura, the Devgans, the Munis, they were in hiding. She took the form of a cow and she went where they were. Because they were facing the same kind of situation. Now if Mother Earth took the form of a cow, where was Earth? Where were all the trees and the ocean and so on? That's a pertinent question. What is it took the form of the cow? Is it a physical Earth? Is that energy? Pridvima. That energy took that form. So all the gods were in hiding. So where they were, she went there and she met them. Nija Santap Sunaya Siroi, and with tears in her eyes, she cried her troubles to them. But they were facing the same predicament. They could not help her. Kahu te kachu kajana hoi, but none of them could help because they were in the same predicament. Sometimes we are faced with problems, and you say, I go to X, Y, and Z, I will get some relief. And you go there, and even that attempt that you made to get some relief, it didn't come your way. Do we give up? If everybody gives up, my friend, we will be no better off. So what happens? In a beautiful chant, Tulsidas sings, Suramuni Gandharva Milkar Sarva Gaye Biranchi Ki Loka. Tulsidas is telling us that the gods, the sages, and all the Gandharvas are celestial singers. So all of them were impacted by this negativities that Ravan imposed upon all of them. And they went all together to Brahma's abode. Gaye Biranchi Ki Loka. Biranchi means Brahma. The Loka is the place where he lives. So they went to that lok, Brahma's lok. Sangagotan udhari modi bichari parama vikala sukha. So Tulsidas is saying here that with them was Mother Earth in the form of a cow. She also went with them as she was gravely stricken with fear. And sometimes when they create fear into you, you think, well, there is nothing more to be done. And a lot of people live in fear. Everybody is living in fear. And that is one of the things that when the people want to override you, they create fear in you. So Ravan created fear in the minds of everybody. And because of that fear, they could not come out to revolt. And if you do revolt, you meet in all the lead and so on. So this is a situation that is happening right now. Tulsidas says, Brahma sabjana mana anumana mora kachuna basai. Brahma sabjana, he knew everything. So imagine you leave earth and you go to Brahma's well. And even there, you couldn't get the relief that you wanted. Tulsidas is saying, when Brahma learned everything, he realized his inability to help her. Mora kachuna basai. There is nothing that I could do. Why is that so? Why was Brahma not able to help? It was Brahma who gave Ravan that Vardhan, and he could not withdraw that. That is why he could not. Sometimes we give word and we take back our word, right? Brahma didn't do that. In spite of all the difficulties that he was creating, the havoc that he was creating. So, not that Brahma did not, he knew. So, he's saying here Ja karitai dasi so avinashi hamare uttora sahai. So he tells mother, listen what he tells mother. He says, that immortal Lord, immortal means cannot die, avinashi, right? He says, that immortal Lord whose servant you are his dasi, dasa servant. He says, that immortal Lord whose servant that you are, he says, he will be my help as well as yours. That servant. Who is that servant? That person? That is God Almighty. That is the person whom you serve. You are his dasi, you are his servant. We are all his servant. And eventually, it is the Lord who will have to put his hand. And sometimes we find that takes years and years and years. And because of that, we give up. There must be a certain tenacity in the mind of all human beings. That we don't give up, irrespective of how challenging the situation is. And in this Doha, he gives her advice. This is what he says. प्रभु बन जय चारु नर बजे जानक जनकी पीरतिया पति रामचंद्र की जय धर निधर ही मन धीर कहाँ बिरंची हरिपद सुमिरी. Haripad means the feet of the Lord. Sumiri is to meditate upon. So he gives an advice. He's saying, have patience. Have patience. Now, that is a quality that is sometimes very absent in most of us. Sometimes I don't have patience. And there are others who face the same circumstances as me, and they have all the patience in the world. That is a special quality that one has to develop. So he says, Mother Earth, he's telling her, he says, have patience, Earth. And you see, Dharani Dharam Manati, Kaha Biranchi means Brahma is speaking. He's saying, he says, have patience, Mother, and fix your mind, Haripad Sumiri. Fix your mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord. What does that mean? To meditate upon him, to sing his praises, to worship him, and do not give up. In spite of all of these, continue to worship. But sometimes, we as human beings, we begin to worship, say, boy, I'm doing short prayers, every week I'm doing prayers, every week I say your prayers, and we are seeing no change. It's not for you to see the change. It's not for you to look for change. You're not doing the prayers because you want to see a change. If you have that in the back of your mind, you're not praying. Because you are saying, I'm making an exchange. If I pray, then things will go good. Let prayer be a part of your daily living. And Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, do what you have to do without looking for reward. He says, I dispense the reward. And I know the truth of your heart. Sometimes we pray, but in our hearts we are not really praying, my friends. The mind is not there when we are praying. I am praying here by thinking how to fleece the neighbor of his wealth. How to steal his produce from the garden. But I am praying, But in my mind, in the back of my mind, are all these negativities. That is not prayer. That is Papi Show. And Sri Ram tells so great. He says, I detest duplicity. You know what is called a two-tongued person? He said, I detest that very much. Only a person with nirmal man, with a pure heart, could come to me. And who knows the heart better than the Lord? The Lord is referred to as Antarjami. Antarjami means the indweller of all hearts. So He knows what you are thinking. Whatever it operates within your mind, the Lord knows, because He dwells there. So He says, fix your mind on this lotus feet. He said, Janat Janaki Pir. He knows the pains of all of us. Janat Janaki Prabhu Banjahi Daruna Bipati. Say the Lord knows the distress of His servants and will put an end to the cruel suffering. He knows. The Lord knows everything. There is nothing that He doesn't know. So you don't have to go and tell, my Lord, I'm facing this, I'm facing that, and I can't pay bills. The Lord knows that. You don't have to tell Him that. That is not praise. Lord, I love you in spite of all the difficulties. You know what the saints say? Lord, if I get trouble, I still love you as when I am not getting trouble. And in spite of the difficulties that I undergo, my Lord, I see that as your blessing. That's how the saint looks at that. The saint doesn't complain. He says, my Lord, when I undergo problems, that is also your blessings. Because you know why you have given that unto me. But I am not complaining. My Lord, I love you just the same. Give me an opportunity at all times in my life to serve you in spite of all these things. I must not lose my faith. Cause me not to lose my faith in spite of all the challenges, my Lord. I'm here to serve you. When you have that kind of mindset, the Lord knows the truth of your heart. And He comes to your rescue. So there's another chaupai. I want to do, it's 4 verses, but I will sing one and translate 2. So actually, I sing 2 of the verses, because I want to get to a particular message. Alright, so I don't want to detain you for too long. So, in chaupai Tulsidasin. Jai Ram Shri Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Rama Shri Rama. Chara karahu pai prabhu kare apukara Jai Jai Rama Jai Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama Pura Vaikunta Jana Kar Koi Kao Kar Paya Bas Koi Jai Rama Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Jai Rama Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Shri Rama Shri Rama Shri Rama Shri Rama Shri Rama बैठे सुर सब कर ही बिचारी कहाँ पायु प्रभु करिया पुकारी Remember, Mother Earth was told to go back down and continue praying to that Lord whom you have been servicing. The person who's Dasi you, who's servant you. So all the gods and their thought, their thinking, they come together, all of them, Mother Earth together, everybody. They came and they are thinking, where can we find the Lord so we can appeal to Him? They went to Brahma, they got no relief. So they are saying, they come together, where can we find the Lord so that we can appeal to Him to relieve us of this distress? And Pura Vaikuntha Janakaha Koi. One person says, we should go to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is the home of the Lord. So everybody is given an opinion. The question was, where can we go to find the Lord? And if you are in an audience, everybody has some suggestion to make. So one person suggested we should go to Vaikuntha. Another said, Another said we should go to the Milky Ocean. That is another abode of the Lord, the ocean of milk. Payanidhi. So everybody is giving their suggestion. And in the next shloka he said, Jake Hridaya Bhakti Jasa Priti Prabhutaha Pragat Sada Tahariti. It says here that the Lord always manifests Himself to man just exactly according to the measure of devotion and love He cherishes in His heart. Let me expand on that a little bit. Just a while ago I was telling you, if you just part a prayer, that doesn't mean anything. The extent of your bhakti, your devotion, when you say your prayers, that love and commitment that you make towards the Lord when you do your prayers, to that extent, He rewards you. If the extent of your love when you say your prayers is 10%, the Lord rewards you with 10%. If it's 2%, He rewards you because He dispenses the reward. If yours is 100%, of course you will get 100%. So the Lord doesn't curry favor. When you serve Him, that is why when some of us pray, we get all the things, our prayers are always answered. And then others who are praying, my prayers don't answer because mine is so powerful as some people say. Right? So it's the power of your prayer that counts. That bhav with which you say. That bhav means that kind of attitude with which you do the prayer. And who knows that better than the Lord? You could fool me, you could come and chant and say, I watch and say, boy, this man were chanting. I can't judge you because I wasn't you. But the Lord knows. When you chant, you don't have to tell me. Don't tell anybody that I chant. I fasted for so many days and I did. You don't have to tell anybody that. That is between you and the divine. And if you tell me, you could tell me that to show me while you're doing so much and so much. But in your heart it is not really done with that love and devotion. That bhav is not there. But the Lord knows when you do it with that love and devotion, the Lord knows. And He dispenses that amount of blessings for you. So He said, Tehi Samaja Girija Mai Rahi. Girija refers to Mother Parvati. Tehi Samaj. Samaj is just gathering. So Lord Shankara, I tell you, he's relating this katha to Mother Parvati. He said, Parvati, I too was in that Samaj. I was there in that gathering. And when the opportunity came, he says, Tehi Samaj Giri Jamai Rahu Avasara Pai Bachan Eka Kahi. He said, I too gave my opinion. I also contributed to what was taking place in the assembly. And if Lord Shankara is making a contribution, tell the world, it has to be a really good contribution. What was that contribution? Tulsidas tells us. Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana Premat Pragata Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram Kala jisi jisi umahi Kahu to kaha kaha prabhu nahi Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana Premat Pragata Hohi Maijana. He says, I know that the Lord Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana. He is all pervading. He is here, there and everywhere. So if he is here, there and everywhere, he knows everything. You don't have to tell him. You don't have to tell him of your troubles. He knows. He is present everywhere alike. And Premate Pragata Hohima. Pragata is to appear, to show. Prem is divine love. Somebody here named Prem, is that so? Yes, and he manifests those qualities. Premate Pragata Hohima Jana. He says, he is revealed only by love. That commitment in our heart for the divine, he knows that. Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana Premata Pragata Hohi Maijana. He pervades everything, but he is only revealed by prem, by love. And he continues. How Kaha huso kaha jaha prabhu nahi desa kala disi vidisi humahi. So he's asking, desa kala disi vidisi humahi. He says, tell me, is there a place, is there a time, is there a quarter of the universe where the Lord is not? If he is omnipresent, omnipresent means present everywhere. Omniscient means all-knowing, he knows everything. Omnipresent means he is present everywhere. Omni means everywhere. All. So, he's asking the question, tell me, is there a place where we can find Lord? Do we have to go to Vaikunt? Do we have to go to the Milky Ocean? Do we have to go to India? Do we have to go wherever to find the Lord? The Lord is here resident within our hearts, my friend. And only when we cultivate those qualities that are necessary, you see, Valmiki tells Shri Ram, Kama, Krodha, Madamana, Namoha, Lobh, na Chobh, na Rag, na Droha. He says, he in whose heart there is an absence of lust, of greed, of anger, of hatred, of jealousy. He says, such persons' hearts, my Lord, are all cleansed to receive you. Go there and make that heart your home. That heart in which love abides. that is the place where the Lord will be. So he's saying here, is there a place where he's not? He's present here, there, and everywhere. In the next shloka he says, Aga jagamay sabarahita biragi premate prabhu pragatay jini adi. He pervades all things, animate as well as in Aga Jagam, animate as well as inanimate, living or non-living. He's in and through everything. And yet he's apart and passionless. What does that mean? He pervades, everything belongs to him. But he doesn't claim to own anything. He doesn't claim anything for himself. And he judges everything based upon the circumstance. That is how he sees everything. He is apart and passionless. Passionless means you have no connection. I have a passion for this means I love this in a very particular way. Passionless means I have no liking or no relationship with that. But he says, Prema de Prabhu Pragatay Jimyagi. He is revealed by love, even as fire is manifested by friction. Now I have to explain this for you to understand it. If I take a match grain and the box and I hold the two together, will you get a fire? You will get no fire. But if I hold a match and I strike it against the box, what happens? The fire emerges. Now, did you create that fire? Did you create that fire? You didn't. That fire was always there. But it was there in a latent form. L-A-T-E-N-T. Latent means not manifested. You can't see it. You can't hold it. That fire is present all here and all now, but in a latent form. But it needed a certain condition for it to emerge. Now, what was that condition? The friction caused by it in the striking the match on the box. That friction is what causes the fire to emerge. In a similar way, the Lord is present in all hearts, but it needs a certain condition to reveal itself. Now, what is that condition? Prem. Prem is equivalent to that friction. Prem is that divine love. And how does it show itself? In terms, if a godly person, his speech, his thinking, his action, मन से, कर्म से और वचन से, thought, word and deed, he expresses everything good in his actions. In his thinking, he thinks pure thoughts. And when you look at this person, you can see, you can behold a certain kind of magnetism, a certain kind of aura about this person. It is so profound that you don't have to know him. The moment you see him, you are attracted to him because of the pure thoughts. It magnetizes you. His words, his speech is so profound. Mridubani. Beautiful words. Loving words. When he speaks, you want to listen. If he says something that is not pleasing, but the manner in which he says it makes you feel good about it. He tells you, you know something, if I tell you you misbehave, I will tell you in a very raw way, and you might get annoyed with me. But he would tell you the same thing in such beautiful words that you would never feel embarrassed. You will accept that I have faulted and I want to make amends. And his actions are also profound, that it attracts you. Whatever he does it in such a way that he creates an atmosphere of goodness around you. Not all people are like that. Very few are like that. In thought, in word and deed. So to just go back on this, just as fire is caused by friction to emerge, so too the Lord emerges within us in terms of our speech and our thinking and our action when we develop that praying. That praying is that friction. And what happened when he said that? Mora bachana sabake manamana sadhu sadhu kar brahma bakana. Tulsidas is saying that when Lord Shankara spoke, he says, my words found favor with Brahma and with all who were there. You know, I'd say in this gathering, some person will come and give such a bright idea that everybody is happy with the idea. And they realize it would redound to the benefit of all of us here. Such was the case when Lord Shankara gave his suggestion. Everybody, they found renewed vigor, they found hope, they found joy from what he said. And even Brahma was saying, he says, Parvati, my words found favor with all. And Brahma applauded me saying, well said, well said. Sadhu, sadhu, Kari Brahma Bhakta. Sadhu is a saint. Well said, saint. Yes, well said. And I bring my lesson to an end this evening. Tulsidas sings in Doha. Suni biranchi man harashatan pulakinayan wahani pulakinayan. You know pulaki? You know when you hear something or you read something or something appeals to you, especially your hair stand on end, that is pulakasi. So when he said that, Tulsidas says, he was glad at heart to hear the words emanating from the divine lips of Lord Shankara. And he said his hair stood on there. And Nayan Wahani, his eyes copiously began to rain tears. Sometimes we feel that inner sense of joy that it brings tears to our eyes. Now there are two types of tears. You have hot tears and you have cool tears. Cool tears and when there is a deep sense of revelation within you, a great sense of joy, those tears are cool. But when you are in great trouble, you get annoyed and so on, people against you and you begin to cry, that tears is hot. So, when you feel that sense of joy and peace within you, it appeals to you especially, it touches something within you. The eye begins to shed tear. That tear is cool. That was the kind of tears that Brahma was shedding at that moment. And then, Astutikara Jori, he put his hand together, Astuti is praise. He began to sing praises of the Lord. And Savadhana Matidhi, with folded hands, he chanted his praises in very composed fashion. He felt a great joy. And he himself, Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, began to sing praises to the Lord. So my dear friends, we saw the challenges that Mother Earth. And when we go further down the lesson, it will reveal to you how the Lord came out of it. But that will be for another time. So in tonight's Katha, we saw where challenges are always there amongst us, within us, within family, out of family, and we are facing that every day. But how we address that situation makes us what we are. We can say, okay, I go take a gun and I go shoot everybody around me. Did that help the situation? It made things worse. And you lose your life in the process also. So you made a mess of everybody around you, and you yourself lose your life. It didn't create anything. So Mother Earth, she went where all the other gods were. Everybody faces the same situation, but you have company, and you can talk about it. And when you talk about your sufferings, it tends to relieve you somewhat. That which you have bottled up within you, there's a vent now, as everybody begins to speak. And then in the process of that, they decided to do something. I should go to Brahma. But even having gone there, spending so much time to go in Brahma school, you still didn't get what you wanted. Do you give up then? You still don't give up. Then they sat in council and they're thinking, where can we find the Lord? And up come Lord Shankara in this audience and gives a brilliant idea that changes the whole scenario. Everything changed when he gave this direction. So Lord Shankara here is representative of a person of great and profound thinking, a great thinker, a great teacher, a great philosopher. When you are in the presence of these kinds of people, there is hope. But if you go to places where people are not qualified, you won't get that kind of knowledge. So find yourself always where there are great thinkers, great teachers, noble people, dignified and honorable people. When you're in that kind of companionship, you are sure to get some kind of belief. And having heard from Lord Shankara, even Brahma began to clap and began to sing praises. And everybody else, their minds are now calm. The anxiety in their hearts are no longer there. And where can we find, friends? All this we can find in our scripture text. The Ramayana is a living literature. It is evergreen. Every kind of situation that you think about is present here. And that is the brilliance of Santoshi Das's Sri Ramkrishna. Prem se bolo Siyabar Ramachandra Bhagwan. My grateful thanks to all of you for coming here this evening, for supporting the family, the Bal family, And I once again, I'm deeply impressed with the preparations, and I know he got some help from all the villagers here. Whenever I come, I see all the ladies here cooking, washing, cleaning, doing all sorts of praises to all of you. May Sri Ram bless all of you. Thank you very much for your help and so on. We have a next session tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the session. So we have another lesson tomorrow being a day for Hanuman. I will be something pertaining to Hanuman. So I look forward to seeing all of you again tomorrow. If you have blessed all of you richly. Please let us all stand, and I want to do my arti. So please all stand. Arti and praise and prayer.
Look at that oil.
What is that? 8 o'clock. Okay. All right. Just take the seats. Let's see a few presents before. Say about 3 or 4 presents, and then we do arti. Now.